What did Van Man and them talk about on theirs?
Oh, just normal stuff they always talk about in their other show. Anyway, we're live. um, um, this is Beyond the Pendulum, episode 72, February 26th. It is now 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, a lot to talk about in the world of. Hold on, let me share this show on the only. I really hate Twitter. There we go, or X, whatever you call it. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about this week in the world of Twitter. I'm sorry, world of ufology. Yeah. So Trump said that he's going to release all of the UFO files this week. What's her name? Not Lorraine Boebert. Republican or
Luna.
representative, yeah, Luna was saying that she's going to be head of that task force. She was supposed to be doing this anyway. Um,
Yeah.
I really hope this is not another JFK thing. Because like, okay, like for the uninformed who aren't listening to this, disclosures already happened in the files. It already has. But I think what Americans need is like I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna take Americans to like realize that it's a real thing. Like there really is some strange shit going on. Like do they? I mean, it's happened. I mean, the CIA's released files. Fuck. Like the historical documents in the archives are there. Those have been around for forever.
Yeah.
Keywords you want to look into is flying propane tank. Those what they used to call before Tic Tac. I mean, the literature's all over the fucking place. Like disclosures already happen on paper. Um,
Yeah,
I,
somehow it's just like getting, and other governments seem like they're willing at least, but it's like getting these governments to acknowledge what they know, and they're just, and for our military purposes, we're not ready to do that. I think that's the big problem. There's too much tech there. There's too many ways to get behind on that. Either get behind or get ahead. Depending on how that turns out. Just um, yeah, they're scared of that.
well, it's,
I get it, but it's just we're uh, you can't be a species go into other planets and think like we do.
see
Let me say that.
that's the thing is
You know,
according to Bob Lazar, and I think with the stuff that we've seen from the Air Force from the Triangle TR3Bs, I don't. The, how should I say this nicely? To have it stable on Earth, you know, here on Earth, is 1 feet. To get it into orbit is probably something that they're not going to risk losing an asset. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand it might be capable of it, but I don't think that they have. Like I don't.
actually flown something with it.
Ye-
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that they've really left, for deep to deep space with any of that shit. Is it capable? Probably. Um, have they? I don't think so. Even Lazar said the same thing. They were, the thing was capable of space travel. They just didn't, which makes
Well,
sense. Which makes sense. I mean,
we haven't reverse engineered it enough to know what it does.
I
You
think,
don't need
I
to be
think,
pushing buttons, and if you don't know what the hell you're doing.
I think we have. There's good evidence out there that the TR3B is real, and I believe it was also part of the God. There was a bunch of them spotted during the Belgian UFO flap in the 90s. Um,
Yeah.
I think that was us. Um, They call them ARVs, or alien whatever, something vehicle.
Replicas, yeah.
Yeah, and then that new whistleblower, the one that was on Jeremy Corbell, he saw TR-3B in one of the NASA hangars, on an Air Force base. So that we got that. I think we do, but how should I say this nicely? I don't think it's 100. I don't think it's a 1-to-1 replica. I don't. I don't think our material science is that advanced. I think it's like strapping a gravity drive onto an F-15 kind of shit. You know, that's what we're dealing
Yeah.
with, because they're whatever they're using for their ships is like paper. What I always hear is paper thin and stronger than steel. We don't have anything like that.
No.
You'd have
No, it's,
to you'd have to like, in order to get something like that, well, the only thing we really know how to do, the material wise, that would be do something like that, is we could increase isotope ratios, which is very expensive. Like you can make like, like steel, or not steel, which is,
well,
it's a bad
hardened materials.
example. We can make, with through certain ways that we can make the isotopic ratio heavier. Like, but that's not really what you want to do to make something strong metal wise. There's only a couple ways you can do it. You can make alloys, which are not super great bonds, but it does make it stronger. But what you really want is like a lattice structure, right? Something that's organized, and you'd have to do that at the atomic level. And what I'm hearing is that that's probably what they are using. It's probably normal everyday material, like normal everyday metals. Maybe the isotopic ratio is a little off, but it's a range. Like the only thing that we can do to make something stronger besides alloys is what's known as cryogenics. It's cryogenic metallurgy. It's another way of, like, when you heat up metals and then you temper it. Well, after you've already tempered the metal, you can also use cryogenic freezing, to get those atoms closer together. But what you really want is like an organized lattice structure. Something that's uniform, and we don't have anything like that. Like we don't. We're not even close. We can't even do that right now.
No, and as close as I mean, you see, how that works. If you get certain metals close like that, say aluminum, you see how it strengthens them and all. But yeah, I mean, that's we're not there.
No.
Right? You can tell. It's just you can see what we can create in everyday materials, what we have, and even the space age stuff. And I would say a lot of that stuff hasn't changed in a while now. We're not saying we're at the end of any discoveries, but it's like I think that the pace of discovery is going to be slowing down here.
There's been some weird stuff that's out there. Like, I've been hearing rumors about, what was it? They were able to fuck with something in certain materials to have it have exotic properties. Um, but how do you prove it? Like like they were like, I forget what it was. It had something to do with a hypo. Like they were like, what was it? It was like some sort of construction material, using something they had done to it, where you're using some sort of extra dimension to make it so that it doesn't collapse under seismic stress. And it was just like a case scenario. But how do you prove that it actually did that, what it did? We don't have the greatest measuring shit when it comes to quantum stuff. You really have
Oh
to
yeah,
get, yeah, yeah, you have to
no,
have
it's
everything in a Faraday cage and isolated, and it has to be vacuum sealed. You know, like, it could be all hodgepodge for all I know. Just because I saw an article doesn't mean it's real either. You know, but
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of articles get hyped, and you don't see that a lot, like say in technical or physics or engineering magazines or anything. But because you're immediately discredited, trying to hype something, in a forum like that is just not going to work. But in other places, it works great. but it leads to that click. It leads to the clickbait story. It's and discrediting and all the rest of it. It's just,
I have heard there has been advancements in quantum tunneling with light. They have been able to do weird shit with that with photons. Um,
yeah, yeah. But all this happens at extremely high speeds with extremely light particles. It's not something that we could ever experience.
well, yeah, it's not something we'll be able to see. Yeah,
I haven't seen anything yet where you can get anything heavy to any reasonable speed. That's the trick.
yeah. Uh, I really hope this. Really hope Trump really releases something and it's not a nothing burger. Like I'm just. I hope. I really do. Cause
No more redacted Epstein files and
oh my God.
it's, yeah, it's like, come on. I just it's just like the hype before you get the rug pulled out again, honestly. But it's like, okay, let's, I'm on board this time. I don't, I'm
Like,
looping the loop here again, and I'm kind of on board again. I was bummed out last time, but
and people are like stupid. People who don't know anything about how the military works, it's like so ridiculous. Like they think it's like okay, how should I say this? It's like it's there, but because it's classified, you can't acknowledge that it's there. You know what I mean? Like that's what we're dealing with. You know, it's like having a pink elephant in the room, and then you ask the guard,
no.
"What's the elephant doing there?"
Well,
And then the guard tells you there is no elephant here. That's what we're dealing with.
yeah, you're up against the free world and against what happens in the military, and free and open versus you get told what to believe. It is,
I don't need the government to tell me what to believe, but apparently Americans do.
yeah. They have a hard time thinking out of the box. They have a hard time thinking about issues like this. They actually have a hard time about a lot of things, but they're
And
just
the
not self-aware. There's a lack of awareness and about anything.
and according to the data, it's more likely that these things are not extraterrestrial. It's more likely they're interdimensional. I mean,
Yeah,
it would make a fucking shitload more sense. You know, it really would.
I mean, that's to me that's even harder to do though. That's like
No, yeah, you're right. You're right. It does require that would require more energy. Yeah, you're right,
yeah, and
100%.
way more tech. Yeah, man, if you're having trouble with gravity drives, I mean, how the hell do you do the rest of it? It's like, it's
Well,
um,
there are several ways to go about interdimensional travel. Um, what's up, Boo Boo?
I don't know, man. It's
Well,
I don't know if traveling from planet to planet, here's what I say. Everybody seems to think like it's an impossible task to travel long distances, but they've shown how a civilization could do that. They could only reach like a tenth of the speed of light, 10%. If you were just dedicated to it and sending ships out and making outposts and then continuously leapfrogging, you can populate the whole galaxy, in like 100,000 years, if you put your mind to it. But
even if you
we're
had a
never we're never going to do that.
even if you had a gravity drive and you could go like 5 times the speed of light, you're still dealing with these vast distances.
Yeah, that's why. Okay, that just that hey, that's great. It would cut down your times, but that's not really what's preventing you here. You have the tech to reach 10% if you wanted to, with conventional tech and so do it. That's known tech. You don't need gravity drives. You just need the willpower to build something like that and do it.
Yeah.
And then you can move out and populate and all that. And yeah, okay, so it's gonna take 1,000 years versus 100, but well, you got nothing but time. I mean, it's like what's the hurry?
Yeah.
You better get started. But if you never get started, then you never leave and you're doomed. So
Well, apparently we're not going
that's
back
the
to the
long
moon
term.
either. You hear about that? They
Because you're
uh
just
the
slaves.
art
You get You're
The
getting
Artemis
played that,
missions.
oh, we're going to do it, and then we're not going to do it. Oh, it's too hard. Oh, we're going back,
No,
and it's just
it was supposed to be a test run for the Artemis thing, and they had to move it back because of safety concerns. What I
yeah, they've had some leaks, I think, on it, at least once, but we're just not. We don't have that willpower of the 1960s. I mean, that was a
No.
different time and a space race, and I mean, different people, and we just don't have that willpower anymore to like pursue something like that. Honestly, I was like, how can you be here 50 years later and nothing? I mean, it's just. And honestly, I think the moon's kind of a waste of time. I mean, it's like you need to be stepping out. It's like
Well, apparently
you
there's relics
need.
up there, you know. You can see it.
No, yeah,
You can see it in some of the
yeah,
satellites that have been taking pictures up there. There's something there, you know. And you know what's really strange is like um, I think as they said almost all of the almost all of the Apollo uh, astronauts reported space UFO contact.
yeah,
Almost
yeah. No,
all
I've
of them.
heard it's all weird. Yeah, yeah. It's almost like the moon's possessed or something.
Well, you've heard the rumors that you've heard those creepy stories that the moon is fake, right?
Yeah, or it's hollow, or yeah, there might be something. But I mean, nah. Do I believe that? I don't think you can. Or it's some kind of spacecraft, or that's a hard way to do it. But no, I'm not buying
It'd
that.
be weird. I mean, not the weirdest thing out there.
No, hey, could some civilization have moved the moon here? Well, sure. Yeah, I mean, if they can get here and do all these other things, they probably could do that. Yeah, it's like, but did they? I don't know.
It's odd. It's not tidally. It is tidally locked, but
Yeah, yeah,
it's weird.
yeah. That it's how big it is compared to the size of the Earth. There's some things you don't see. It's just
Anywhere.
not common. But our
Yeah,
whole solar system is like that. We're not the common setup of a solar system.
but you've heard of there's some really weird stories if you dig. There are a couple of places in the world that say the same thing a time before there was the moon in the sky. And
Oh, really? No.
yeah, you find some of this in some of the Native American stuff and some of the ancient Mediterranean stuff like it's there. There are some stuff that does talk about that, but with stories you can never verify. We'll never know anyway.
No. Yeah, it's curious. Uh, just an educated guess, or they got lucky, or
Yeah, time before there was a moon.
yeah, or just as a postulate for a story. I mean, you're going to write something different and unique. I mean, you only got so many things to talk about back in the age. So
Jesus, what else is going on? I really hope this does go through with the Trump's order. I don't give it a lot of hope though. But you know what? If he needs to do what the what's it called? The well he's the we're not alone speech.
oh,
The
yeah, that always comes across as kind of weird, if you ask me. But
they're
like the
supposed to.
citizens of Earth,
It's like
you know,
it's a presidential directive. Like there were already plans in place from NATO. Like he's supposed to do. They were supposed to do this like 80 years ago.
yeah,
Jesus Christ.
it just some things just don't happen.
Well, if they're interdimensional, we don't have to do the speech.
Oh, because they're not. Well, they're still aliens, aren't they? I mean,
Then they gotta get green cards.
they're out of this world. Should we welcome them or be afraid?
You gotta get you tell them to go to THS and go get a green card.
We probably would.
We
Really.
probably would.
Yeah.
God,
We don't recognize
bad.
your authority. Like, oh, and
Yeah.
we're obviously more advanced than you are, so you have to follow us.
Yeah. Did you hear
I
the
can't.
George Knapp's documents? He released some of them from the stuff that he gave to the CIA.
Uh,
It was all those Russian files, and what the Russians were more interested in was studying how we reverse engineer UFOs. What is different from what we that we you get a good picture of what the Americans are doing, but I know damn well that George Knapp was given a demonstration of they were interested in reverse engineering the weapons, specifically plasma weapons. Um, I believe I believe this is also part of what we're dealing with the Havana stuff. But I think they're using scalar weapons, which also was most likely a Russian and reverse engineering weapon. But yeah, I know damn well that reverse engineering some of the weapons have been done. Are they effective? I don't know, but I do know that they do have them. They're probably not used widely because they're not conventional, but they do have them.
hmm.
I don't know what the fuck you would do with plasma weapons. Burn a
Well, you'd
hole.
want to direct them. I mean, you have to direct the weapon first, or it's kind of useless. It have to be a
Yeah.
directed plasma.
You know, in the wattage and the energy conversion for that, we're talking gigawatts. The fuck you gonna get a gigawatt?
That sounds like you're gonna have to like use all the ship like a nuclear powered ship, like pulse it all at one moment, or
Well, you can. You
I
just have to
know.
make something go super critical. There's also something else, something that was weird that I heard that the it's not really. I don't think this is classified, but there was there was a way that the army had a problem with their laser tech that they put on other things, so they found a way because we're talking 50,000 watts on the fly. And you can't just charge and discharge something like that on the field. So what they did was they found a way to like generate. What were they doing? It was like a microwave. They were microwaving gas and collecting the discharge from it. Like a fat. Somehow, you get the concept, right? There's some sort of discharge that you get from generating plasma, and they were using something like that to charge lasers on the fly. I don't know if that's completely out there in the public, but that's something that they have worked on. Um,
Mhm. I mean, there are short range plasma. Not, I would have to say, not
no.
very
They
well
were using
directed, but
they were using plasma as
to
an energy
recharge a laser.
to recharge a laser on the fly because we're talking getting trying to get 50,000 watts into like a capacitor on the fly and then discharge it, out in the middle of fucks nowhere. How are you gonna do that with a generator? That's not gonna work.
No.
But if you're microwaving gas and collecting the free flowing electrons from there, you might be able to generate kilowatts. You know, but yeah, discharging a laser that's gonna burn a hole into shit is you need some serious power. Like people think
Yeah,
that
and I mean, lasers are great. I don't.
they're not as great as people think that they are. They do have their problems. Like if you use lasers on snow, it doesn't work.
Oh, huh.
Yeah, it has trouble on
Reflective.
reflective shit too. So like if you were trying to if they made their drone out of mirrors, you're gonna have trouble taking it down. You know? So
Hey, that was one of those. If you ever get hit with one of those sound pulse weapons, one of the ways is just to have like a big dish with you and just like reflect it back at them.
oh God.
But that would look so silly.
Um what else? I guess the 2027 thing came up again. Who was it that showed that there was some sort of object coming at us in 2027, planet sized?
Uh, uh, Planet size. No,
That's what they were saying.
there
Yeah,
might be
this
some a comet or some small asteroid or something. But now there was one that was going to pass within the orbit of our stationary satellites,
well they were
and I
saying
don't
this
know if
is
that
this is
one's
this is like some sort of ship or something. I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't know. Why would you travel deep space in a planet-sized ship? Why? I mean, that'd be weird. That would be like that.
uh,
That'd be like the Anunnaki shit, right? And Nibiru.
maybe if you're thinking big, there's some reason to do that. Maybe like, hey, you already got I would say, why would you need a whole planet? But like a small moon or something, or I don't know, like an asteroid. I mean, something that's already kind of in place. You just build your stuff there and then send it off wherever you're sending it, and maybe there's a point to that.
Yeah, but if you get into like the Sumerian Anunnaki stories, like they get really bizarre. It's more
Yeah,
likely.
yeah, and I always like wonder like why would an ancient come up with a story like that? It doesn't seem like a story a an ancient person minding his own business, no matter what part of the world it is, would come up with these weird stories.
It's yeah, it's bizarre, and then they create slave races, like, and they want them to mine gold to repair their atmosphere. Like it's bizarre. Like
Yeah, that sounds like some like sales pitch you would tell them like, the dumb workers, on Earth, like, oh, well, it's to save our planet, when really you're just like a conquistador stealing the gold, right? Just
I mean,
we just need workers, damn it, to dig our gold for us.
and they weren't the only ones to have that acorn shit. There were several other people around that time that had depictions of that acorn thing. So
Yeah,
they're
and I think
probably
what follows, what kind of backed up some of that was some of those, I would call them relics or whatever it was, that panopticon thing they kind of found in South Africa that's ancient, 400,000 years old or something. That was a weird story. That whole structure is kind of weird.
yeah.
And it looks like a friggin' prison, and slave camp walls leading to your workplace. It's like, it's what it looks like.
Well, apparently, there's a labyrinth with some relic um, at the under the paw of a sphinx. There's a labyrinth next to Giza, and there's some sort of relic, and then they think the Hall of Records is there, but they don't. The Egyptian antiquities don't want anybody digging there because then it would prove most likely that the Egyptians, as we've thought forever, didn't build these things. They found them. Um, as with
Yeah,
other
that seems.
as with
Yeah.
other
Now,
monuments
other
that are
right, other cultures admit to that. The Inca,
yeah.
the Andaluvians, created a lot. The people before the flood, or that's the people before created all this. It wasn't us. We came here and we settled in this area, but we did not build this. Now, other cultures seem like they have a hard problem admitting that.
Well,
So it's not just one part of the earth, that where this occurred. Um, it's fairly common.
Well, it would. There was who was that guy? That Russian president that said he was taken up by the some aliens. It was recently on Jesse Michaels, and he
Oh
described,
my.
yeah, because people are under the impression that Russia is just one country. No, it's actually 17 republics. They all have their own like Chechnya, stuff like that. They all
Oh
have
yeah.
their, yeah, they
Yeah.
have their own presidents, and
Governors. Yeah.
yeah. So one of them, uh, in the 90s, said this story came out, but it wasn't popular because it was the end of the Cold War. Or the no, it actually wasn't the Cold War. This was after. This was like 90s. So this was like when the Republic started. So, but it never made it into Western media. But apparently they took them up. They were called the Council. I've heard that name before, and they said that we are the fifth race to inhabit this planet, which would make sense. That would the Navajo have something similar to that. They call it the five Earth Ages, or you know,
Yeah.
which would line up with some other shit. Like there's just there are things on Earth that we didn't build. We didn't. Like man,
Like
either.
the pyramid.
And you know what's
Like the
weird?
pyramid.
You know what's really strange? And this is what really dicks me around, right? I say that when people hear a gravity drive or they hear a UFO, they hear humming like an amplifier, right?
Hmm.
You've heard that, right? The humming.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that humming and yeah,
And
when it
then
sounds
and
similar
then
to
you'll
silent, but weird.
then you'll hear these weird stories about how they said the ancient people used to make a sound and it would move the objects. So I'm
Right.
like,
Harmonic. Yeah. Yeah.
no, I mean, they might be dealing with a gravity drive. That, or the easier way to do it, the easier way, what they might have done, which I can't prove it, would they might have had a way of what's called you melt rock and you mold it. You literally heat it till it's
Right.
molten, and then you mold it.
Right. Yeah.
That's the only way that the ancient people could have done it. But then we're talking about heats that they couldn't generate, you know?
Yeah. I don't believe they were capable of that. There was no fire or process
So
that would do
some of
not on
this,
any scale. I mean, of any kind.
and then we have Easter Island. Those guys didn't build those things. The island
Right.
people.
Not to parent. Was the other thing? I was, oh, those big blocks. Those 1,200-ton stone blocks. Like I think the base of the what's that place called? Baalbek has a well, they call it the landing pad. I think Baalbek there's means landing pad or landing zone, something along those lines.
Same thing with
Um,
Stonehenge. We know that the Druids didn't build those things.
yeah, and then the dragging of all these stones, hundreds of miles. It's just weird. I mean, I guess if you have slaves, you can do more than I think. I mean, I just think, man, even if you had slaves, it's like you really going to make them do all this? It's just waste all this manpower on something like that. Like for what? But it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, I really think that there's more evidence than not that even the Sphinx was a lion, and then the Egyptians
Right.
carved a pharaoh's head into it
Yeah.
because it doesn't make any sense.
Well, and the wear matches,
Yeah,
the previous rain and it being like 13 to 15,000, which means it would have been pointing east in the age of, I don't know what age, the age of the lion.
and,
That's where it makes sense.
and
But
there
that
was
puts it like how many thousands of years back? It's just, but that's
12,
where all the astronomical stuff lines up.
and then there's I'm not sure if this is true, but I believe the first dynasty. I don't think that you see any Sphinx stuff until the what they call the 100-year blackout, and then you start seeing Sphinx stuff. So I'm assuming that they had to be in that 100 years after the first, somewhere between there, they destroyed the lion or the Leo, made into a sphinx.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
think I don't think the Egyptians did any of that.
they might have recarved it to their pharaoh head. That's about it.
Well,
No,
there's
it's
evidence. There's
crap.
evidence of them trying to recreate it, and they failed miserably
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
There's like how you see how far those tunnels go back in there. These are people with sticks and fire. Like, no.
Yeah, it just that size of a project and difficulty doesn't match what they could do at the time. You would think they could do at the time. That's the big problem.
And that shit that's all over Turkey, those tunnels. That nobody they don't know who built them, and they go down really far.
Oh, deep. Yeah, that is an odd one. Yeah, there was like thousands of people down there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just like,
fire.
I mean, that's no small project.
You can't have fire down there in a tunnel with thousands of people living in there. You can't do that.
It has like own natural ventilation, and everything. I mean, you almost have to be like an engineer to design something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, who came up with that design? That's what gets me. It's like, no,
Actually,
it's
there's a
just,
couple of them like that. I believe there's another one like that in Germany. So, like, it would make sense if we were not the first people, if we're not the only race that's ever inhabited this planet.
you know, then it's
That
like, well, what
that
happened to them, or
that would make
where'd
a
they
lot
go?
more sense. Yeah. This whole we came from monkeys shit. I'm like, well, yeah, that's a great story. I'm not saying that science is wrong because I'm not a like what is it I'm not a
Well, I
science denier, but what I'm saying is that if we evolved from primates, there's where do you
well,
you know what I mean? Like there's
I believe that you did, but there was a manipulation. There's that
yeah
genetic
yeah
evidence, like
yeah
50 to 70,000 years ago. There's this big leap, and that doesn't make sense. So, hey, did aliens come here and manipulate us?
there's
Probably.
there's stories about
Yeah.
that too in the Sumerian stuff. You know?
They had to get the what they had to work with on this planet and get them up to speed through genetic manipulation.
Hoy.
And if you just kind of logically think it through, I mean, it's if you would do certain things like that. If you're coming up on a planet, let's say there's a species there, and they're not as smart as you, and you can manipulate them and have them do do things for you. You're gonna engage in relationships like that, and or decide, okay, well, hey, we can work with these, but we got to get them up to speed. And if you got
Wonder
the tech, well, then that's you just start the process, kick it off, and then because in X number of years, this is something's going to take place that you want, and then you get the population that you desire.
well, you wonder if that's still going on, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, you see rich people do that, right? I mean, they want certain, a boy or a girl, certain kind of kids, certain traits. I mean, we already do that. So yeah, would they do it? Would somebody else do that to us? Yeah.
Damn.
If you're just in a world of possibilities, and look, I mean, look, if these craft are coming on a literally daily basis to this planet, there's more going on.
Oh yeah. And I think that I think that guy Patrick, what's his name, that wrote the Sphere Network, I think that guy's right too. There's some sort of ancient what's it called? AI based defense something here that's been described even in the ancient books that was here as some sort of AI protection. I do believe that. You used to call them Ophanim and the Book of Enoch or whatever, Ezekiel's wheel. It's all the same shit. Um,
Like this invisible presence. It's not a fit. Well, I'll say
it
it's
is,
not
no, they
physical.
are. It is something, but I believe it's AI based. Some sort of defense weapon. The little things that show up when we start playing around with nuclear weapons.
Yeah. Yeah, they are interested in what you're doing. If you just look at what goes on in the variety of the abductions, I mean, just the whole experience, whoever these people are, they've been disclosing themselves for a long time. You know, what we have a problem with is admitting it.
Yeah, we're not the top dog on this planet, so
Yeah, so the narcissism or whatever is the unwillingness to accept your place in the universe now. Not just on Earth, but in the whole big picture. And we have a problem with that.
well,
Who's going to
they
be in control? Are we going to handle all these people? And what are we going to do? What are we going to let them do? And what are we going to tell them? And
well, I really hope that this goes on. They don't leave it ambiguous, but I think it might be a nothing burger, it might not. I mean, like, even if they release the files, like, people are gonna say, "Do you believe in aliens? Do you believe?" You're like, what do you mean
if you,
believe? There's
if you
evidence. It's all over the documents. You know. Then they called the Epstein shit a conspiracy theory, and it was all real.
yeah, everything that usually everything that gets muck raked is true because this story came from somewhere. It's not
Even I thought it was
you
bullshit
have
when
a hard
at
time
first.
coming up with a story like that. This
I thought the Epstein stuff was bullshit. The whole Pizzagate stuff. I was like,
oh
when
really? Well, maybe the pizza. Well, no, I mean there's weirdos out there. I mean it's just I don't know. Could there be a group doing that? Yeah, sure. Just I think it'd be small, but I mean what I know maybe I'm just totally out of the loop. But as
uh,
far as UFOs and all, I mean yeah, I would say you have a harder time explaining your non-belief after all these people have seen something versus I believe people who have seen these things.
yeah,
That would seem like the more difficult position. And honestly, I don't know, if they're really, let's say they did disclose it, I'm really not so sure people are ready for that news. They're not really aware of much or seem to care about too many things. So, I don't know that it would really, it'd be something super important. I don't know that they would really care.
yeah,
They're not aware. I don't know how else to put it.
yeah. I always laugh. I always laugh when I go into UFO to it. When I go to Twitter on UFO, they talk about disclosure, and I'm like, it's already happened on paper, dude.
What do the aliens have to do to get your attention? What more do they need to do?
I mean,
How many
it'd be
how many
cool to be, it'd
different
be cool to be
ways can
vindicated against, it'd be cool to be vindicated, and now we're not going to be called crazy anymore. But
and then it's being hated for being right. So get ready for
oh, I heard,
that.
Hillary was being questioned about Jeffrey Epstein and shit.
Yeah, she's been running away from that for man years. They finally got her.
And they got
I couldn't believe that.
they
Like,
got what's his
wow,
name? They got Bill Gates.
damn. Yeah,
Oh, and you know who was that? You know who was also was that Jeffrey Epstein? There's a picture of fucking um Stephen Hawking.
oh yeah, oh, shit.
Oh yeah.
Well, the guy for what the new leader of the World Economic Forum just had, because he's got ties to Epstein. I mean, they're dropping like flies, man. Yes.
Mm,
But I don't know. Honestly, I don't know why they're. It's like, okay, so what? You caught me. I got some pictures. Who cares? It's like getting caught with a mistress. That was a big deal 50 years ago. Now nobody cares. You know, I don't know why it's such a big deal. If you're a rich scumbag and you're just sticking it to everybody, why would you care if they know or not? It's not going to change anything. It's just, I don't know,
well,
strange.
Prince Andrew is facing the Prince Andrew is going to prison.
Oh, well, is he, or have the royals intervened because we're serious about this? But what's he going to get us? They're pissed off because you're making the royals look bad. They're not going to discipline this guy for what he did. They would have done that a long time ago. They know what he did.
Yeah.
This is just the face saving for the royals. Like maintain that aura of control.
Oh, I gotta put my little kid to bed.
Oh man.
Okay, and we'll be back on the